Am I the a-hole for being upset that my husband accused me of sleeping with someone that my son said he saw sleeping in bed with me? My husband, 32 male, works night shift, so he is gone from the hours of 9 p.m. 7 a.m. Last night my son, 5 male, came and slept in bed with me, a queen bed I may add. I don't know what time because I was passed out asleep. Then my 3 female daughter came in sometime in the night and slept with us too. My son woke up and went downstairs to eat cereal, and then my husband came home and my son told him he saw a guy in my bed. My husband came upstairs to look. I was still in bed. My husband said, "Who were you sleeping with last night?" I laughed and said, "No one." He told me that my son said there was a guy next to me and then said it's an odd thing for a 5-year-old to say. I'm like, yes, that is odd. But also I did not sleep with anyone last night. He says he's not going on the family vacation anymore, which he didn't want to go on anyways, and I told him if you're not going on our vacation then we have bigger problems. And he says, yeah, you sleeping with someone is a big deal. So I then am really upset because not only am I getting accused of something I didn't do, but that my husband is now threatening to not go on the vacation, and he tells me obviously there is something because you're getting so mad about it. I then say, how about you ask more questions or even ask our daughter who was in bed with me too. He didn't want to talk about it and told me to leave him alone, and told me I'm messing and whoring around. He called me in a hole, then I called him a witch. He said F you. Then I said F you. I later pressed my son to tell me about this guy. He tells me that he saw him while he was eating cereal and he left through the wall using teleportation. That's what my son said. I asked my son if he talked to him and my son said no, he was really quiet. I asked him to describe him. He first said he was the size of a head, but then said he was an adult with black pants and a white shirt. I'm not mad at my son because he's 5. Backstory context too that might be helpful. We had gotten in a fight 3 days ago where he was mad at me. When I tried to resolve the fight with him, he said later. The next day I tried, he then said he didn't have time. And then the night before this current fight went down, I told him we need to talk. He says there's nothing to talk about, he's fine. And I called B's because obviously there's an issue. He never admitted to there being an issue, and I then said you need to then act normal then because you've been avoiding me the past 2 days and try to resolve issues in our marriage. I told him for you to see me visibly upset and you ignoring me is an issue, when I clearly want to fix something. He said he would do better, but it was still awkward and weird. So that's where the night ended before I saw him in the morning again. Also, like to preface, I have never been involved with infidelity in my marriage. We definitely have our problems, but infidelity on my end has never been an issue. Am I in the wrong to be upset of being accused of sleeping with this guy that my son said he saw in bed with me? Am I the a-hole for not giving up my aisle seat on a 15-hour flight for an older lady with mobility issues? We were on a 777, and the economy seating configuration was 3-4-3. I was seated in the aisle seat of the bulkhead row in the middle section. Next to me was an older lady, probably in her 60s. When I first sat down, she apologized and said she needed to get up. I told her it was no problem since there was enough space for her to move without me needing to stand up. A couple of minutes later, she returned with a flight attendant and asked if I could swap seats with her because she had mobility issues. I politely declined because I wanted to keep my aisle seat, and the seat next to her was occupied by a very large woman who was spilling into part of the older lady's seat. My thinking was that if the older woman truly had mobility issues, she likely would have been pre-assigned an aisle seat. Also, there really was plenty of room for her to get out of her seat without me having to move. So it seemed to me that she just didn't want to sit next to the larger passenger. Am I the a-hole for refusing to swap? Edit. The flight attendant offered her an aisle seat after I declined to move, but she wanted the extra leg room in the bulkhead row and refused the alternative aisle seat offer, so that to me also seems like she just didn't want to be seated next to the larger lady.